Hello and welcome to the Long Island weather update. Sunshine today, but we did have a lot of jet junk and some cirrus around. But definitely hope you enjoyed it because guess what's coming back tomorrow? More rain, particularly in the evening. You can see that's what all these clouds are from that we have streaming in. Ahead of the next rain system, and this will be finally the last one that we're going to have to deal with, and then we're going to get a nice break for this week. So we got one more soaker to deal with. Here it is. You can see that Pacific jet there, connecting it right up. There you go. Here's all that moisture from the Pacific subtropical jet feeding into the system here and bringing us the rain. But look at all this. All this will be hours eventually. So hang on there. All this will be hours. We've got a big high that will eventually build in. But there will be a pressure gradient between this high and this low pressure system here that will create windy conditions once the rain is done. So let's go take a look at what we got going on out there right now, and temperatures are in the low 40s. It was a pretty mild day despite the northeasterly winds, but temperatures have now dropped into the low 40s, and I do have a video for you at Hempstead Lake. I did get out and enjoy the day, even though it wasn't really clear for the Pine Barrens. We did take a nice, beautiful afternoon walk at Hempstead Lake State Park, which is a very beautiful, yet another reason why living in Rockville Center would just be great. So let's look at what we got going on at Islip right now. 41 degrees, dew point 36, but we did get up to 54 today. Yeah, it was a pretty warm day across the area. And you can see, looks like we got some advisories in effect. Coastal flood watch is in effect. We've got a coastal flood advisory as well. We've got coastal flood advisories for Jersey. Gale, a small craft, and gale watches in effect, and looks like a flood watch in effect for New Jersey, and that might be extended into our area as well. So let's look at our highs today. Mid-50s across Long Island, and yeah, mid-50s pretty much everywhere, despite the northeasterly winds, except out on the Twin Forks, where it was only around 50 degrees. Looking at the lows today, lows in the upper 30s. Generally, so mid to upper 30s generally, above normal once again. Not a surprise considering. So let's look at the radar, and we'll take a look at our next system here that we're going to have that's going to be approaching. And here it is, waiting in the wings for us. Take a look at all that rain that we got. Lots of rain here going up through the Great Lakes, down through Ohio and Indiana, through Kentucky and Tennessee, into the south, into Georgia, Alabama, even some thunderstorms here. And all this is heading our way. And then we have another little breakaway area around Oklahoma City, which is kind of interesting. But all of this is heading our way, so we got more rain on the way for this weekend. Looking at the briefing here, heavy rain Saturday night, and we got 1 to 2 inches likely, locally 2.5 inches possible. Peak rainfall rates of 3 in a 3 to 6 hour period will be from around 8 p.m. Saturday till 3 a.m. Sunday. So it will be coming in a little bit later than the last storm. This is moving faster. There is a threat of flooding as well with this coastal flooding because we're going to see more of a wind with this. And then strong winds are going to be more of an issue on late Sunday into Monday. That's when we'll see west winds of 15 to 25 miles an hour, gusts 30 to 40 miles an hour. Late Sunday morning into the evening, increasing to northwest winds 35 to 45 mile, gusts 45 to 50. There could be some scattered power outages, and a wind advisory will most definitely be issued, and a high wind warning may even need to be issued, depending on how strong the winds get. We're going to have to keep an eye on this. So, yeah, this is a much stronger storm than the other two storms that we had, but it's a much quicker moving storm, so it won't last as long. You can still see flood warnings along the rivers there in Connecticut too. It looks like. So let's take a look at our statistics today before we get into the forecast here and look at our climate statistics, because you guessed it, we were above normal again today. So Islip high of 54, low of 38, puts us 8 degrees above normal for the day. Looking at Central Park, running about 9 degrees above normal, the high of 57. And already 3 inches of rain. We've already gotten almost the normal amount for March, and we're going to be getting a whole lot more. So let's look at the models now, and we're looking at the GFS here, and here's the next system that's going to come in time. Now, a lot of your day tomorrow will be dry, I think, until the afternoon, and then once the afternoon comes, that's when the rain's going to move in, and it's going to get heavy. You can see that low is going to track right over us, right on top of us, and look at how deep that low is. It's actually the primary low is actually going to weaken, and then this secondary low is going to develop right over us, enhancing the rainfall. And then once that leaves, look at those tight isobars behind the storm. And then we're going to have some really windy conditions, not just Sunday, but also into Monday, too. Look at how tight those isobars are. That means a lot of wind. You got the very strong low here and a very strong high over here. And in between the two, you've got all that wind. And that wind probably won't start getting better. Even Tuesday could be a little bit on the breezy side. So it's going to be breezy even after the weekend is done. But I think the worst of the wind's going to probably be Sunday, but maybe even lingering into Monday. So obviously, plenty of moisture to work with this storm, as you saw in the satellite. I don't really need to show you the 700 to 300, but I'll show it to you here. And look at that moisture there. Look at those dark greens that we have that are going to be coming in over our area, and those are going to be with us. That's going to be it's going to be a Saturday night event, and then it's gone by Sunday. You can see dry air comes into the picture, but the wind we'll be dealing with that afterwards. Let's look at the FGen on the GFS here to show you the FGen here. Wow, there's some pretty strong FGen there. That's when that heaviest rain is going to come on through. You can see that right there. It's pretty strong right there. And that's when you're going to get that heavy rain, and then the colder air advection is going to come in behind it. And pretty cold air aloft will be behind the system, so there's going to be a lot of instability as well behind it, even when we're done. So if I look at the sounding for, say, Sunday, we will have probably a good deal of clouds around, and you'll see here, look at what happens here. So you can see that we have a moisture here in the low levels, and then you can see how fast that temperature drops once you get aloft. So this is somewhat of an unstable atmosphere here. All right, so we're going to have a lot of wind and a lot of instability once the storm is done. So it's not like it's going to be a beautiful day afterwards. It won't be raining, but it's going to be windy, and there's going to be a lot of passing clouds, and it's going to feel pretty blustery. Total accumulated precip on the GFS. We'll first start with the GFS, and then we'll look at the other models here. And you can see it showing around an inch, though I think it could wind up being more than that. It's showing the higher amounts a little further to the north. But again, the models always underestimate how much rain we're going to get, so it's really not a surprise that we're going to probably see more. So let's shift over to the HRRR and go to the 0Z run of the HRRR and look at our first dew points in wind flow, so we can illustrate what's going to be happening here. The winds are southeasterly, and they're going to start picking up. You can see the southeasterly winds tomorrow, and then that really moist air that is going to get a bit of an LLJ right ahead of the thing, probably later Saturday night before the cold front moves through, and then the winds swing around to the west and northwest for your Sunday, and you can see some pretty strong winds showing there behind that, and a big drop in dew points behind that. Though I think the humid air, probably the worst of it's going to stay to the south, but there's going to be enough of it lifting over us that there'll be plenty of precipitation. So let's go look at the radar simulation on the HRRR. So we're dry in the morning tomorrow, and then as we get toward the afternoon, later in the afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock, you get the first little bit of light rain coming in, though it looks like the worst of it's now going to wait until probably 9, 10 o'clock right now, in that center of that low. At least that's what the HRRR thinks. So this isn't going to be as long of a lasting event. Actually, from start to finish, it's only really going to be about 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours. So it won't be as long as the other events, and that helps to maybe hold down the rainfall amounts compared to some of the other events that we had. But it's still going to be a soaker, all right? That low moves away, and then you see what's left in its wake. A very tight gradient for Sunday, and even some pop-up rain or snow showers, perhaps, later in the afternoon, just due to the instability that's in the air. Because, again, there's going to be a lot of instability in the air, and I don't think we're going to get a sounding out of that. So let's look at our temperatures, and then we'll go ahead and kind of show you what our temperatures are going to do. So tonight, 30s, probably upper 30s tomorrow. Not going to be that warm with that easterly flow and the cloud cover. Highs only probably in the low to mid 40s will do it. Maybe if you're in southern Jersey, you might see 50s. Temperatures kind of rise as you get toward the evening. You'd see Jersey could definitely get in the 50s and maybe near 50 for us before the storm pulls away. And then Sunday, temperatures are only going to be in the mid to upper 40s, and it's going to be very breezy behind the storm system, as we know. And we'll talk about the wind. Let's take a look to see what the HRRR is putting out for rainfall first. The HRRR rainfall doesn't look. It looks like it has the heavier rainfall to the north and the west. And Long Island may only get away with 1 inch to 1.5 inches, where the 2-inch plus amounts might be in the north and the west. This all depends on where the showers and thunderstorms, yes, because there are chances of thunderstorms here, where they line up. Let's go to a different model now, because, again, every model has its own opinion on what's going to happen here, and we're trying to see if they've all come to some sort of consensus or not. So we're looking at the 0Z NAM now, and, of course, don't forget, the clocks go ahead tomorrow night, so that means you'll have an extra hour of daylight. It also means the models come in later as well. So when we do the weather updates, we won't have all the models here. The NAM is a little, obviously not a surprise, more aggressive with bringing in rainfall around as early as 1 o'clock. Some light rain, nothing heavy. And then as we get on to the evening, you'll start seeing the moderate to heavier rain come into the picture here. And I think the HRRR is being a little too light on the precipitation. I lean more toward the NAM at this point, given that the NAM's had a pretty good track record. So right around 6, 7 o'clock, that's when you start seeing the heavy showers and thunderstorms come through. And then as you get toward after midnight, that's when it's going to start to taper off, and that low pulls away. But then you see that instability behind it and those tight isobars. And we might even see maybe even a snow squall, perhaps, or a snow shower or something. Hey, we'll take what we can get. I mean that we've hardly had any of that this year. But the NAM's significantly more aggressive. This is the near-surface reflectivity on this. So let's go to the radar. That is the radar. Okay, let's go to the MSLP and precip here. So we're going to go to this here and kind of show you here. They both kind of agree here at this point. I'm using the NAM 3. But you can see it's going to be a pretty rainy Saturday night. And it's going to come down pretty heavy. It's going to be a little windy, too, when that rain falls. So the worst of the wind, I think, is behind the cold front when that gradient tightens up a little more. Now, total accumulated precip on the NAM. It's a little more aggressive. It's still showing 1 to 1.5 inches, but, those thunderstorms could dump a lot of rain, and there are a lot of them popping up. Let's go to the FGen here. Because there's some pretty impressive. Look at this. Wow, this is almost off the wall here. So you can see, all right, we are at here 9 o'clock? 9 o'clock. And you can see there's a really area of really heavy lift here. There could be a good chance of a thunderstorm with this area of lift tomorrow night. It could actually be pretty impressive to actually see and be out in if we do wind up getting thunderstorms. But, 5 or 6, right around 10 o'clock, maybe 9, 10 o'clock, we're going to start seeing these. This is something really impressive, very impressive FGen. So that's going to be a lot of rain. That's why I think we have a good chance of seeing 2 inches of rain. If we get that those thunderstorms to pop, well, even if it's only raining heavy for a couple hours, you can get 2 or 3 inches and some really pretty major flash flooding. So if you do have to be out tomorrow, wear some boots, because there's going to be a lot of flooding tomorrow night with this kind of, when I see something like this, that's a signal that there could be some even strong thunderstorms. In fact, let's go to the Storm Prediction Center and take a look and see what's going on right now. You can see they got some risk zones over the south. Let's see if they've put us in a risk zone, any risk zones tomorrow. Nope, they just have us in a general risk. But, when you see stuff like this, you have to wonder. So we're going to have to keep our eye on this. This could be, tomorrow night could be rocking and rolling with, I've never seen FGen like this. This is really impressive. And that's really impressive. And then behind it, it's a shame that the Joe and Joe, which, by the way, great. If you don't watch those, you watch them on replay like I do. But Joe Chaffee has a great show with Joe Rayo where they discuss the weather. Unfortunately, they're off tonight. They really shouldn't be off for this storm, but they are. But that's why I'm here. But anyway, you can see this looks really tonight and tomorrow night. They shouldn't be off because we're going to have an active weather situation here. But you can see here there really is that's off the wall. I mean that's really bad looking right there. All right, I'm like, I never seen it look like that before. All right, let's go to the NAM 12. Oh my God. So this is really not a good look at all. So right around, let's see, 5, 7, 5. That's like 10, 11 o'clock. We could see some really strong thunderstorms around here. Perhaps. Looking at the radar simulation here, I mean, that's a lot of lift right there in the atmosphere. So that would not surprise me at all. If you get, I would think there's a good chance of a thunderstorm seeing stuff like that. So that's really impressive to see. I like I said, I've never seen FGen that. Well, it's almost purple. It's so heavy. I mean, that's unbelievable. There's a lot of energy in the atmosphere over there. So I think it might be underdoing the precipitation. I think we're going to see closer to 2 inches. With seeing FGen like that, I expect 2 inches, and there could be a lot of roadway flooding, particularly where there's poor drainage, like here in Mineola. So let's. I mean, that's really impressive. That's why you see me going like, what? So whatever the case is, the rain ends, and then we're left with the wind on Sunday. So being that we're in the NAM 12, let's go ahead and look at what the has for winds here. And actually, I want to show the LLJ first. Oh, we do have an LLJ tomorrow night, too. Not a crazy one, but there it is. So you have the LLJ, too, for your for tomorrow night as well. And then behind it, you won't have an LLJ, but you will have very strong winds. So if we look at the winds at the surface, you'll see this doesn't show the whole picture, but you can see really strong. We're in the green here. These are just sustained winds. You see we're at 24 knots. All right, sustained. That doesn't show the gusts. All right, this is for Monday. Actually, it looks worse Monday than Sunday. Yeah, the wind may actually wind up being worse Monday than Sunday, believe it or not. So let's talk clouds briefly here. Obviously, with all that wind and all that, we'll just look at the dew points and wind flow through Monday on here, right? So this is Sunday, and then Monday on the GFS. You can see that's pretty dry air, but there's a steep lapse rate. Looking at the soundings here, it's unstable. There's going to be clouds both days, I think. And that kind of is reflected here. As you see here, we're looking at the cloud cover here. That there will be a decent amount of clouds both days. No better than partly sunny conditions Sunday and Monday, probably. RGEM even agrees with that. So this is the RGEM right here for Sunday. So not really a sunny, nice day on Sunday. And Monday, it's going to be a lot of clouds, too. RGEM seems to think it'll improve over Jersey. I don't know. Not looking at some of those. The RGEM may be just a little too optimistic. We'll have to see. But I'm more concerned about the winds and the heavy rain tomorrow night. So let's go ahead and look at some more models. I'm going to head over to Vent2Sky, and we're going to look at a few more simulations here with this storm tomorrow night. And I actually want to pull up wind gusts. And we'll go over to Saturday here because so gusts in the afternoon. It's going to be breezy, but nothing crazy. But as we hit toward 8 o'clock, that's when things pick up. We're already seeing winds from the southeast gusting to 45 miles an hour. Why aren't you working? It's. Come on. All right, whatever. It's not showing me, so I have to mouse over it. Whatever. 47 miles an hour. That's pretty impressive right there. Gusting close to 50. And the problem is now you have a southeasterly flow on shore. This is the coastal flooding threat that we may have tomorrow night here. You have that, and then you have the rain coming down. The rain's kind of draining from the rivers inland, trying to get out to the bays, but you have the wind blowing the water back in. So this is why we're going to have some flooding on the South Shore, I think, tomorrow night, which I'm sure South Shore 12 will be all over. They're not going to care about the flooding in the middle of the island, but they will talk about the flooding on the South Shore, which will be significant. You can see these wind gusts look like nothing to fool around with. And again, if we look at the wind speed, this is using the HRRR, by the way. If we go wind speed above the ground, just to show you the LLJ here tomorrow night, and you can see here, It's not a crazy LLJ, but you can see it here, and there are some strong winds embedded in that LLJ. All right. But going back to wind gusts, let's move this over to Sunday because we're still gonna be dealing with wind gusts even to Sunday, though not as strong. It doesn't look like the winds are going to be as strong. But yeah, I think we'll need that wind advisory by tomorrow night. Actually, Sundays the HRRR doesn't seem to be too crazy on the winds. But it's Monday, I think, that we may actually wind up seeing a lot more wind. Or this is the Icon model, where we'll see gusts into the 40s. So, yeah, 45, I don't know. Well, this is a different model. Let's just stick with the Icon. All right, so this way we'll have some consistency here. But it's showing 45 to 50 mile an hour gusts on Monday. So even after the storm's gone, we're going to have this pressure gradient that's going to, because the storm's going to get stuck in the Gulf of Maine. We're going to have this pressure gradient on Monday. So we could be dealing with some power outages, down trees, into Monday. Sunday on the Icon doesn't look as bad. 38 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour. But Monday, Monday looks a little worse for sure. And we'll have clouds. See, this was the Icon showing. Well, actually, Icon also showing less clouds over Jersey despite the wind. But for Sunday, I think we'll have a lot of clouds everywhere, as you see here showing on the Icon. I'll go back to the automatic model now, and we're going to go to the thunderstorms next. And go to that thunderstorm threat for, actually show a little cape on Sunday because there will be some instability. Let's go any cape for Saturday night. None. Lifted index, nothing crazy as well. There is a little bit over here, but I think the models are underestimating this thunderstorm threat, so it could be pretty wild. All right, we're going to look at the waves next because that is the next threat that we get to look at for Saturday night. And you can see we definitely have some waves closing in on 10 feet here that we're going to have to worry about on Saturday night. And this is just one model because there's also the windy.com model as well. So let's take a look at that one. And this is the European model. And we'll look at the European as far as the wind gusts go starting tomorrow night. 6 o'clock, we're already seeing the wind gusts 32 miles an hour, 36 miles an hour. And then as we get toward 10 o'clock, things get worse. If you're on the South Shore, at the beach, you're going to wind gusts to 41. In the middle of the island, 34. Nothing really crazy. But here we go. It's waiting until a little bit later, like midnight. And then now things are really ramping up. Gusts to 55 on the South Shore. 48. So yeah, it does have a pretty strong LLJ with this. But it's bringing in later. So the later it is, I mean, you might even be able to get away with being out early in the evening, but once you get toward 9 o'clock, it's going to start getting wild, and the worst of it's probably going to be between 9 and midnight. So once you get toward 3 a.m., that part pulls out, and then Sunday, you're dealing with wind gusts of, let's see what's showing here, 40 miles an hour, all right? So still pretty windy conditions here. And then we linger, and then we're going to be dealing with that into Monday where the winds actually pick up and get worse. And then we see those gusts showing 50 miles an hour, 52 miles an hour. Some very, very strong winds here, 56 miles an hour being shown. So that's like I said, it's going to be a stormy 3 days. The storm is going to, because the storm gets stuck. That's why. And I'll show that to you again on Tidbits. Again, we'll just point that out to you on Tidbits. That what's going to happen when we move this up. You see that storm's going to kind of sit there for a little bit there in the Gulf of Maine, and that's going to keep that gradient tight. It will be chilly, too. Temperatures will only be in the 40s, so it'll feel cold at least. All right, the other situation, obviously, is the waves, and this is the other concern that we have. This is looking at the European here. Let's take this off to midnight Saturday, and you can see that we've got 10-footers here. So, it's going to be pretty stormy, and the seas stay rough right through because of the proximity of that storm. If you're out in the open ocean, you're going to have even more waves. So, coastal threats, trees possibly coming down, flooding, this will be the last storm that we're going to deal with, but this is going to by far be the strongest one. Pay attention to what's going on. The worst of it's going to be as far as the rain goes tomorrow night And then I think the wind will be worse on Monday than Sunday, believe it or not. Though we may have more sunshine on Monday, despite the strong winds. We'll have to see what happens. But this storm is definitely nothing to fool around with here. So that's going to wrap up this Long Island weather update. And just get ready. It's going to be rough tomorrow night. And, and then we're going to be dealing with the winds afterwards, howling through Monday. Have a good night.